Max Shank will present ultimate program design for maximum efficiency in and out of the gym at this year's Health and Strength Conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Max, what is the biggest mistake most trainers make when putting together training programs for their clients?
Well, when you put a program together, you basically have to look at three things. One is it has to produce the desired result or move toward the desired result. Two is it has to manage their time well, and then it has to manage their fatigue well. And I think what a lot of trainers do when they put together training programs is they put together what they would want to do, whether that's increase their maximum deadlift or increase their maximum press or something like that. So I think the biggest mistake a trainer can make is to impose their own goals on the client. Now, there isn't a time and a place there is a time and a place for giving someone a target if they don't know. You know, some people come into the gym and they have no frame of reference for anything that might even be a good goal to have. You know, we usually try to let women know when they come into the gym if they can't do a pull-up, maybe that's something they should work toward because it's kind of got a special meaning for them. But I think the biggest thing that the biggest mistake trainers make is they try to impose their own goals on other people without really focusing on the needs of the client.
We know you place a premium on coaching good movement. What are the three best ways to enhance your movement quality?
Movement quality is actually a term that I coined in my Ultimate Athleticism book, and it means being able to take your joints through their full range of motion with strength, speed, and coordination. So the number one thing you have to do is you have to take your joints through their full range of motion every day. That's huge. You can do this a wide variety of ways. Number one, you can do it without too much external load. You just use your own inflexibility as the load that you're pushing against. You can make circles, you can do isometrics, you can stretch into it. There are just so many different ways. But the big thing is whenever you get new range of motion, you have to be able to do something there. So it's kind of like an order of operations. Once you can get your joint there passively by assisting it into position, you need to be able to keep it there, make circles, and do stuff to keep your active range of motion.
Mobility, flexibility, stretching. How do these related modalities contribute to the development of ultimate athleticism?
Well, mobility, flexibility, and stretching are three sisters, basically. They're all very similar and they're all related, but they're all very different. When I think of stretching, I typically think of passive stretching, which is where you use some sort of assistance to pull your joint into a certain position that stretches the muscles that get long while the joint is in that position. So if you pull your leg toward your chest while it's straight, basically the muscles of the hamstring and glute are getting long, and you are trying to improve your hip flexion. And if you're doing that passively, that's what I would consider stretching. Flexibility basically just means how far can you stretch? So how far can you take your joints through their range of motion passively? Mobility is sort of what I was referring to with movement quality. It's can you hold something there? Can you do something there? Can you breathe in that position? Can you take it to that position under your own control? And usually this is kind of an order that you gain new range of motion in. Sometimes it requires you to do a little bit of stretching passively to get a new range, and then you have to do some sort of active mobility drill to keep that range. So typically whenever I put together a flexibility program for someone, it's going to include a combination of passive and active stretching, which is flexibility work, and then strength training, which is mobility work, trying to own that new range of motion so your nervous system will remember and keep that range.
You're a proponent of the micro workout concept. What are the particular benefits from this approach, and are there any caveats?
I assume you're referring to things like 5-minute flow and pre-shower sessions and things like that.
Right.
So yes, those are a huge, huge part of it. And most importantly, for people who haven't gotten started yet, you know, when you start working with hundreds and thousands of people in their training, you realize that people are in different categories. So there are some people who don't need any motivation to work out whatsoever. They're just looking for something new to do. And those people don't honestly need a lot of help. It's pretty straightforward. Someone who's already active is going to bounce around from program to program or thing to thing, or maybe they'll stick with one thing for a long time. Maybe they'll change over to something else. It's hard to say. But for the people who haven't gotten started yet, you really have to look at psychology and habit formation more than anything else. And these micro workouts are much easier to swallow than saying, okay, you're doing nothing right now. What I want you to do is go to the gym 6 days a week. Can you do that? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. That's like asking the average person to floss for 30 minutes a day. Like, it's never going to happen. So with these micro workouts, you have the benefit of, I hate to say building a habit because it seems so cliche now, but you make it part of a lifestyle. And that's the huge key point, is you can't just have, oh, well, I do this, I do that. But if you really want to get exceptional results from a flexibility, strength, or endurance standpoint, it's when you make it a lifestyle. And the way to make it part of your lifestyle is to make it a small amount of time, like 5 minutes, and you have to attach that thing to something else. So there has to be like a trigger to get that. So with the 5-minute flow, it's straightforward. It's first thing in the morning. For my 5-minute flow, I have it as part of like a whole routine. So once you have that one thing, that keystone, like a 5-minute flow, it makes you want to do other things in the morning. It makes you want to do things like eat better and exercise more later in the day, and you feel better. And, same thing with the session before you get in the shower. There are no barriers because you're going to get sweaty anyway, so you're going to shower afterward anyway. That's the main reason I've not been able to get people to like do 10 push-ups and 20 squats every 2 hours at work. They're like, oh, well, I'll get sweaty. I'm like, well, okay, I get that. So we'll just save it before you're going to get in the shower anyway. So the huge key with these micro workouts is it makes it part of your lifestyle. And it's easy. It's an easy pill to swallow, and you can have a much lower barrier to entry, and it's sort of the best way to start people on the path.
All right, last question. Because of your own athletic accomplishments, many people only half-jokingly refer to you as a freak of nature. As a kid, though, you were relatively weak. What, more than anything else, has made the difference for you in your journey to a model of high-level, all-around athleticism?
Well, I guess I don't mind being called a freak of nature. The main thing really has just been consistency. I've made progress in my own training doing a lot of different things. And I've stopped making progress in my own training doing a lot of different things as well. And it's sort of evolved over the years, but I would have to say the number one thing that's contributed to it has been consistency. And, I've sustained a ton of non-training related injuries, jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and 15 years of soccer and boxing and tennis. And, so there are a lot of contact injuries. I mean, I've broken toes and ankles and knees and hips, and I've sort of gone through it all. But staying consistent, even while that other stuff is going on, and just focusing on what you can do rather than focusing on what you can't do, I think is really important. So I would say, truthfully, it wasn't like any one thing. It was just that I stayed consistent for over 10 years now. And, unfortunately, 10-year abs is a really tough sell compared to 8-minute abs.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Max, for answering our questions today. And we look forward to hearing your presentation, Ultimate Program Design for Maximum Efficiency in and Out of the Gym, at this year's Health and Strength Conference in Minneapolis.